Okay, Year 12, if you can get out your booklet of activities that was given to you in class and turn to page 6, this is the second dot point for marketing influences, which is consumer laws. Now, the HSC 1 year had an extended response just on this dot point and MI3 together, so they can be very specific, and in this case you would need to know pretty much all of the syllabus points within this point and detail around that and case study information. Okay, so page 6 basically is over these next few slides of an overview of consumer laws. Consumer laws basically just aim to look after the consumer in terms of protecting them against misleading advertising, when they would like to claim on warranties, if there's price discrimination, etc. So governments, both federal and state, have introduced laws to improve the protection and rights of consumers and to clarify the rights and responsibilities of the businesses. So that is the main purpose of consumer laws: protect the rights of consumers, improve that protection, and clarify the rights and responsibilities of businesses that they have towards their consumers. The Australian Consumer Law is one single national consumer law across the whole of Australia. It was adopted in 2011 to replace existing national, state and territory consumer laws. So the Australian Consumer Law applies in the same way to all Australian consumers and businesses, regardless of where they operate in. Now, the Competition and Consumer Act 2010 is a Commonwealth piece of legislation. It was previously known as the Trade Practices Act. It's one of the most important pieces of legislation affecting marketing and business practices. The Act has two major purposes, and this comes under the enforcement section of question 3. It's to protect consumers against undesirable practices such as misrepresenting the contents of the product, and to regulate certain trade practices that will restrict competition. The Competition and Consumer Act is enforced and administered by the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission. Now, like in finance, you have ASIC. The ACCC is there to regulate basically for marketing purposes. So question 4 on page 7, your answer to that question is the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission. If a business breaches this act or is found to breach this act, these can be the consequences for that breach. So the Competition and Consumer Act will allow the courts to impose penalties of up to $1.1 million for companies and $220,000 for individuals for any unconscionable conduct and other breaches. The ACCC has the power to issue an on-the-spot infringement notice or a fine to manufacturers for making false claims about a product without going to courts. So anytime you think of a government body, it's the government giving the responsibility to that body to regulate those things. It takes time away from the courts, it takes time away from the government in order for them to focus on other things. They also, the ACCC, have the power to issue public warning notices to consumers of any suspected illegal activity. So a public notice can be released on the website, in the newspaper, particularly if a product is found to be faulty, and they have the right to issue a public warning for a product or a business. It's the business's responsibility to ensure that they keep up to date with current laws, that they apply them to all marketing practices. So these laws that we have are going to influence the way that businesses market products. Okay, the first area or main area that comes under consumer law is deceptive and misleading advertising. So the Competition and Consumer Act makes deceptive and misleading advertising illegal. A number of methods are still used by some businesses. So remember, anything under this syllabus point, it's actually illegal to do. But if something is deceptive and misleading, it does not necessarily make it illegal, but it comes under the Act. So the first is fine print. Now, fine print can mislead or deceive the customer because important conditions are written in the small size print and are therefore difficult to read. This can often come in times when you might watch TV and there's a commercial and the terms and conditions pop up very quickly on the screen before they're removed. Legally, they're doing the right thing by showing you the terms and conditions. However, it is misleading. And you should be filling in this table on page 7 as the PowerPoint goes through this. The next one is before and after advertisements. So consumers may be misled by before and after advertisements, where the comparison is distorted so that the before images are worsened and the after images are enhanced. So you can see on the bottom right hand corner of the page that there is a anti-wrinkle cream. Obviously the one before is distorted and the one after has been enhanced. That again is to mislead the customer to think that the product is as great as it is, as it appears in the before and after shot. Other forms of deceptive and misleading advertising include tests and surveys. So some advertisements will make claims that will state 9 out of 10 people prefer this product, but there hasn't actually been a survey to prove that 9 out of 10 people do prefer the product. So again, it's there to mislead you. You don't have the evidence towards that. So in terms of advertising, it can be considered illegal. Another form of deceptive and misleading advertising is the country of origin labelling. So accuracy in the labelling is really important. For example, made in Australia means that it was actually manufactured in Australia. It doesn't necessarily mean that the raw materials have come from Australia. And the words product of Australia, that could mean that some of the raw materials have come from Australia, but doesn't necessarily mean it was made in Australia. So the labelling of products have very distinct meanings, and the consumer needs to be aware of that. Another one is packaging, and this is commonly seen in chip packets. The size and the shape of the package may give a misleading impression of the contents. So you usually get half a bag of air when you buy a chip packet. So again, that's there to deceive the customer and mislead the customer. Another form of misleading advertising is special offer. So advertisements might mislead or be deceptive if they imply that a special offer is available for only a limited period, but in fact the offer is continuously available. So they may have a free gift that comes with a purchase that you make, and that could be something that's continuous, but they will state that it's a limited time in order to get you to come in sooner for that product. These are the two most common forms of deceptive and misleading advertising. If you look on page 8 of your booklet, question 1, there is space for you to fill that in. So bait and switch advertising involves advertising a few products at a reduced price, that should say price, and therefore enticing prices to attract customers. What they will do is only order a few of those products, and they'll run out really quickly at that low price because there isn't many of them. For example, TV. We've got this TV advertised for $200. They only order 3 of them. It's being put through a number of different channels of advertisement, and the customer will come in wanting to buy one, and 3 have already been sold. The customer will then be directed by the employee or the staff member to a higher priced item. Okay, so they've thrown the bait out of the low priced TV, and then they've switched them to a higher priced TV because they have run out The second most common form of deceptive and misleading advertising is dishonest advertising. So advertisements must not use words that are deceptive or claim that a product has some specific quality when it does not. Such actions convey a false impression of the exact nature of the product. As well, price reduction, specials, or free gifts must all be genuine. Advertisements that could deceive, even though no one may actually be deceived, are also to be avoided. Okay, the next syllabus point under consumer laws is price discrimination. And this is the setting of different prices for a product in separate markets. So for the definition on page 8, you can put that what is in bold down on in your booklet. The difference in price is possible, and this is talking about, for example, a product you buy from Woolworths here may be more expensive or cheaper than a product, for example, at a Woolworths in North Sydney or a Woolworths interstate. They are able to do this, and the reason for that is that the markets are geographically separated. So a city and country prices, for example, city and country prices, there is product differentiation within one market. For example, different electricity prices for domestic and business users. Now, the Competition and Consumer Act prohibits price discrimination if the discrimination could reduce competition by a substantial amount. So if that price that they're setting in any way is going to reduce the competition that their competitors can provide them, then you'll see them breaching the Competition and Consumer Act. So I'll give you an example. Woolworths at Carnes Hill has no direct competition in that complex. So really they can set a price that they want, maybe a little bit higher for a particular product than, say, a product from Woolworths at Green Valley. The reason for that is the Woolworths at Green Valley has a direct competitor, Coles, in the same complex. Now, if Woolworths was to charge a significantly low price at the Woolworths at Green Valley, then it would substantially reduce the competition that Coles can upfront to Woolworths. So they really have to make sure that they're competing fairly in terms of price discrimination, because a big thing is that if it's too low, then Coles won't be able to compete with that. This also applies to any discounts given, credits, rebates, services and payment arrangements. This means that a business cannot give favoured treatment to some customers while denying others. They need to be fair across the board. Okay, the next one is implied conditions. Now, implied conditions are any unspoken and unwritten terms of a contract. So this can be of a product that you purchase. So it's assumed to exist regardless of whether they were especially mentioned or written into a contract. So if you buy a toaster, you would expect that that toaster would toast bread. It's not written anywhere in the box. This toaster is supposed to toast bread. Okay, it's just implied. You buy a toaster for that reason. They don't need to have it anywhere on their advertisements. The most important implied term relating to customer purchases refers to the product's acceptable quality. Now, the Australian consumer law rules on acceptable quality. A product, if it has acceptable quality, means it's fit for purpose, so it's fit for the reason as to why it's being sold. In appearance, it's acceptable in appearance and in finish. It's free from defects and it's safe and durable. So So they are all implied conditions of acceptable quality. It is a breach of the law to suggest that a product has a particular characteristic that it does not have. So it's illegal, for example, to state that a motor vehicle has a certain fuel consumption performance when it actually does not. Again, that comes back to dishonest advertising. The final one is warranties, and this is now, you should be on halfway through page 9. A warranty is a promise by the business to repair or replace faulty products. Warranty assures the customer that the business has confidence in the quality of its product and will repair or replace any faulty items. Warranty can be used as an aggressive marketing tool if it includes superior options to those of a competitive product. So adding additional warranty periods or a longer warranty period can be used as a way to promote the product. Any false or misleading statements concerning the existence, exclusion, or certain conditions of the warranty are prohibited under the Competition and Consumer Act. So there can't be anything false or misleading about the existence of a warranty, what a warranty excludes, or any certain conditions under that warranty. In particular, the legislation clearly outlines the rights of consumers with regard to refunds and exchanges. Typically, legally, you are entitled to a full refund or exchange if the product does not meet acceptable quality. A business is required by law to offer a refund if the products provided are faulty, if it does not match the description or sample provided, if it fails to do the job that it was supposed to do. If you change your mind, legally, there is no obligation for that business to offer you a refund. They usually will have that stated somewhere on the counter where you pay. Also, if you have found the same product at a cheaper price in another store, they do not have to offer you a refund, and they do not have to match that price. And if damage occurred after the purchase was made, legally they do not have to provide you with a refund. Okay, so you should have filled in all of that booklet up until page 10. There are now questions on the Google Classroom sheet that you need to download and complete. You can type your answers and they need to be resubmitted by the specified time. Also make sure that you update your study notes for MI1 and MI2.